I don't agree with, and to add a little bit more sauce on the ribs, and only speaking from a business standpoint, that I shouldn't have to pay any alimony pertaining to a so-called particular lifestyle that I may have given you when you have done zero contributions to what I have done or built to provide that life. You know,
Now,
not answer a single phone call, not answer a single email, not set up an appointment, not done nothing at all.
well, see,
To
here's the only problem with that, and it's like this is coming from people who I know that work in the field. Is that the problem comes in? Is that when it comes to the nuances, is my word against yours. Whether or not she lies or doesn't lie, did she provide you emotional support? Did she provide you sexual support? Did she provide you other things that made your life easier as you started to attain those things? So it's like when we start talking about the value, if money is the metric, then yes, you're absolutely right. But if the stress relievers that provided you the ability to earn that money, if she provided those things to you, who's to say that they don't weigh equally? And that's where the problem comes in with a lot of trying to prove and disprove is the fact that I may not have done anything for the company, but I may have dealt with the kids. I may have dealt with the household. I may have dealt with seeing to it that certain things were taken care of that took something off of your plate that you didn't have to worry about. Hey, you didn't have to go to this restaurant to go get you that turkey club on rye because I had it already waiting for you when you got home. So who's to say that that hour or 2 hours after you've already worked 12 hours that it would have took you to drive to go get a sandwich and come back to the house, and that uncomfortable moment of having to go and have a transactional relationship with a woman to get that need met or any other thing. Who's to say what the price of these things are and what they're worth? And that's where the complication comes in. So like, yeah, you may not have did anything toward the business, but if you handled everything around me that allowed me to take care of the business and earn the money, that's where the ambiguity comes in.
what's the cost of it? Got you.
Right? You can't
That's
put a dollar. You can't put a dollar
straight
amount
lawyer
on.
talk.
You said what?
That's straight lawyer talk.
Yeah, and see, and that's the problem because I can't prove or disprove the value because if you're the $1 million man, were you the $1 million man before you met her? This is the car argument that I can have. Did she bring something to the table that allowed you to ascend from being the 5 figure man to the 7 figure man? And that will all be determined based solely off of the duration of time that she was around. Now, your ambition for having a wife and having a kid may have been the motivating factor, and she may have done nothing to help you earn it. But guess what? In the eyes of the law, because it was acquired during the time that she was present, she must have had something to do with it. Because men generally collapse under pressure if they're in a situation where they're being attacked at all ends. So those of us that are highly competitive, those of us that are hypergamous, those of us that are really go-getters, we get the short end of the stick in that situation.
Absolutely.
As you said, lawyer talk.
So what I got up on the screen now is what does Florida's new alimony overhaul do? What does the law do? So this is CS/SB 1416. Dissolution of marriage removes permanent alimony as an option. The bill also adds the possibility of lump sum payments, adds the burden.
Mm,
Hold on. Let me stop there since you jumped out at that one.
mm. Like a one and done you.
I can one and done you.
So
Hold on.
we can determine a fixed amount, and hey, what you do with that is your own business. Rather than you looking forward to a check, a consistent check coming. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's difficult for me to think about giving you money and you going out buying sexy dresses or going out and putting yourself in any level of position to allow another man to reap the benefits of my hard work.
Yeah, that's
There
totally on.
is definitely, but again, it's like, what are you going to do when you're not with me anymore? You're gonna go, you find something else, but you're benefiting from me. Now, my thing is that I could easily reconcile with that if I was able to give you a one and done, and now I'm through with it because I can rebuild my life. So if I go
Yeah,
and I look into my 401k savings, whatever the years are worth based on what the metric is determined by, and say, okay, cool, got to give you half of this, and this lump sum out. As a man, I can reconcile with that because I can actually make a plan for the rest of my life. My pay won't
yeah.
be garnished, so I can still live.
There you go. And in a lot of situations, you know what I'm saying, especially for a lot of us men, definitely hurts our pride when we going through, you know what I'm saying, a situation like that and we have to move in with somebody. A situation like this, I can one and done you and I can possibly still maintain a one bedroom apartment or a row house or something, and I could still live straight
And
and
I don't have to
rebuild.
worry about whether or not my livelihood is going to be affected, especially if there's
There
children.
you go.
I can
Yeah.
still afford my place. I can actually make a real plan. Like if you wanted to buy a car, you wanted to buy a house, I can make a real plan and say, okay, if I just do X, Y, Z over the course of the next several years, I might work a second job, whatever the situation may be, and boom, if the fixed rate is 100,000, guess what I'm going to do? I'm not going to stretch this out. I'm going to give you everything that you need. Now you're going to get it in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, or whatever I can feasibly do to give you whatever you need. And once those payments are recorded and indebted, I want you out of my pocket. And I don't see anything wrong with that.
I'm with it. All right, so let's keep it pushing. All right, it adds the burden of proof to the person seeking support to prove they need it and
Mm,
sets up a process for ex-spouses who make alimony payments to seek modifications when they retire or conditions change. It will allow judges to reduce or terminate alimony. That's what I'm talking about. So, pause right there. So let's go back to the first one. Bridge the gap. Okay. Not to exceed 2 years, right?
mm,
It will allow judges to reduce or terminate. If you're already past the 2 year mark, are we square? We good? I mean, I know they're not going to put something in place to where I can seek, reimbursement of everything that I paid past the 2 year. Of course, they're not going to do that.
of course not.
But are we square at this point? Are we done? What's up? So I would encourage, everybody out there in Florida to start, seeking and asking these questions and reaching out to Jones and Associates when he gets his bar, when he passes the bar.
Soon come, man. Soon come. We're getting there. We're getting there. But on a realistic scale, man, it's like this is big news. And it's like I don't say this as a ha, I got you women. I say this as a let's level the playing field. See, there was something that you said. You can scroll back down for a minute. Just something that you said. It's like I don't want this to get glanced over. Right there, hold on, right there, right there. The
Okay.
bill adds the possible lump sum payments, adds a burden of proof to the person seeking support to prove they need it.
Mm.
So I want just right there, just that alone. I want you to think about it. When it comes to alimony, what is the alimony for? So when we start looking at maintaining a lifestyle, we start looking at what is necessary. Now there's a court-wide discretionary placement to say, well, if the average rent in Central Florida is this much, well, he puts you in a 10. He's paying $5,000 a month for your nice house that you guys lived in downtown Orlando. Well, guess what? You guys are divorced. He should not be obligated to pay that 5,000 or to just give you up a house solely because. So now, if a 2 bedroom will suffice for your living, so be it. It should not be a condition of how you want to live, but can you live based off of current market value? Anything additional that you want, you should be obligated to provide for yourself. And that's my
Yeah.
thoughts.
Agreed.
So if I was able to provide you with the ability to not live in the ghetto, not to live in some strange oblong situation, but if I could provide you the ability to the state average, let's just look at the average. So if the average was $1,800 a month, boom, there you go. Make that 1,800 work.
Yeah. Like everybody else, go out there, work, Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats, uh, gig shift with whatever app is out there. Like, what I'm saying? Make it happen, Captain. All right. So, all right. It will allow judges to reduce and terminate alimony, support, or maintenance payments after considering a number of factors, such as, got a few of them. If I can get them all on the screen.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. The customary retirement age of that person's occupation.
So if you're like a police officer and you retire at a certain age versus being like a factory worker or somebody who's up on scaffolds all day, it's not the same. Not dealt with the same.
Same. It's not the same. Yep. And I'm pretty sure that they're adding in, pensions and stuff like that into that as well. So, the economic impact a reduction in alimony would have on the recipient of the payments, the adultery or either spouse, and any resulting economic impact, the motivation for retirement and likelihood of returning to work for the person making the payments, the existence of a supportive relation. You just spoke on that. The existence of a supportive relationship between the ex-spouse receiving payments and another non-related party, the burden for the ex-spouse making payments to prove that the supportive relationship exists has been removed.
I mean, if you think about that, like that's so much to unpack in those statements alone. I mean, it's like, do you want to delve into some of that real quick before we move on? Because I mean, it's a lot to unpack in those, bro.
I think that last one really kind of hits a home run a little bit. The existence of a supportive relationship between the ex-spouse receiving payments and another non-related party. The burden of the ex-spouse making payments to prove that a supportive relationship exists has been removed.
So now, if you have a live-in boyfriend or somebody that you don't want to marry because it could affect your finances,
there you go. Mm-hmm.
And then, but they are working, they're bringing something in. It's like, hey, listen, there's a active individual that is bringing and contributing something to this household. You should be able to reduce this because there's no reason why. And I felt this way about public assistance. I felt this way about food stamps, about Section 8. I felt this way about a lot of things, is that those people who are genuinely in need for the subsidy, there's one thing to be genuinely in need of the subsidy, and that's as you're trying to work toward getting yourself on track to where you need to be. But there's another thing when you are blatantly abusing the subsidy to take advantage of it. And I'm just not a fan of it. I just never could fathom the thought of, hey, let's subsidize people because they don't want to do anything else.
And not only taking advantage of it, but getting real scumbaggy with it, and having, children to put yourself or keep yourself in that position to where you can still receive those benefits and take advantage of those benefits. Having children specifically just so you can reap the benefit of that system and not using it for any good at all, or not giving anybody that honestly really doesn't need the help. You're letting them in, you know what I'm saying? Or their payments to them may be smaller.
So let me ask you a question. It's like I really want to let's leave out the screen for a second. I just want to have some man talk for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that it took us until 2023 to get to this point finally?